Good morning, everyone. It's welcome to the one of my favorite events that I get to participate in here at the CC Homecoming. My name is Jen Rody Hoagland. I'm class of 1991, a proud alum of Colorado College and also a proud alum of the women's soccer team. Today is one of the special days that we get to recognize the amazing work and lives of our alum and also some of our staff. The Alumni Association is a representative of all of alums, no matter how old you are, where you live, what you have done, and what you do to contribute to the college, either in time or in donations from financial resources. We are a group of about 30 people. We range from classes that are 50 plus to recent grads, and we try and represent across the entire geographies. We right now only the United States, because it is kind of hard from a time zone difference to have meetings as well as virtual meetings are a thing now, but it's still when it's a 1 a.m. for some people and it's 9 o'clock for us in the morning. So we are really domestic right now, but it's not forever. We may be a future expand OUS. For me personally, I live in Park City, Utah. I'm a proud mom of 4. Today, I have to brag a little bit. One of my sons is playing in Croatia. Soccer is part of our lives, and the other one is playing in New York. So if I scream during one of the ceremonies, it's all good. It's hard to stay away. But it's one of those things where the Alumni Association really gets a chance to understand all aspects of the college. And that has been what I've experienced, and that understanding not only what we do from an alumni standpoint, but also beyond athletics, beyond academics, and how we reach out into the community. And so these awards are really how alumni have taken that and really reached out in their own communities after their time here at CC and made a huge difference in the lives of their community, their classmates, and the college as a whole. So it's my great pleasure to introduce the chairman of this committee, which is our nominations committee, Dr. Mark Schleshman, recently retired professor from Vassar College.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks very much. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see all of you out this morning. I am Mark Schleshman, Colorado College class of 1974, and I'm going to save all the stuff about the unprecedented class of 1974 for next year. I'm not going to do all that to you now, but the reason I'm here this morning is to just briefly tell you a little bit about the process of how the Alumni Association awards how the awardees are chosen, and then introduce a really cool video about this year's awardees, and then I'm going to ask our esteemed president to come up and give our awardees their medals. So as Jen mentioned, the committee of the Alumni Association Council that does most of the work on this is called the Nominations and Awards Committee, and we work very closely with our Office of Alumni and Family Relations to pull off all the things that have to happen to give these awards. The first step, of course, is that we need nominations of people. And we all know that there are many, many, many people who graduated from Colorado College who have done outstanding things out there in the world. And I know that each of you know at least 4 or 5 of those kinds of people. So this very first step is one that you are very important for. We are dependent on you to make these nominations for these awards. So I was very happy to see that in our program this morning, when I got our program, right here, there's a QR code that should take you to our new and improved nomination form where you can nominate as many people as you would like to get one of these awards, all right? So then we come to what the Nomination and Awards Committee actually does. And I have to tell you, it's really fun being on this committee. Because number one, we get to read about all the incredible things that you and your friends out there in our alumni family have been doing. This is pretty awesome, right? This is pretty awesome. And the other thing that's wonderful about being on this committee is that we work really well together. So all this happens behind the scenes, so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the members of this year's committee, who you see up here. All right, so I'm going to just name them quickly. Maria Barsalo Lynch, Ed Casillas, who's actually here. You're going to see more of him later. Julia Collins, Jesse Horn, Elliot Mamet, Eric Mellum, Wes Mooney, and Judy Reed. All right, and I'd also like to thank the alumni staff, especially Cindy Hyman and Christy Damgard, who helped us get all this stuff done. So what happens is, once the committee has read nominations and decided who should receive awards in a particular year, which believe me is not easy because there's so many great people out there doing so many interesting things, we make a recommendation to the entire Alumni Association Council, and then they approve these nominations, all right? And now comes the most fun part of my job as chair of the committee. I get to reach out to people who we would like to accept an award and see if they'll accept it, right? And the best thing about this is if I can do it by making a good old-fashioned phone call, all right? So imagine, you've got your phone, it rings, you have no idea who's calling, but you're crazy enough to pick up the phone. Hi, I'm Mark Schlesman, Colorado College class of 1974. What's the first thing you're going to be thinking? Right, okay? But then I get to say, oh, we're wondering if you would like to receive we would like to receive one of our Alumni Association awards, and I can just feel it on the other end of the phone. Mark didn't ask me for money, at least not this time, all right? But really, the gratitude that people show immediately when I get to talk to them is really the best part of the job. Okay, so with that, we're now ready to move on to actually celebrate this year's awardees. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see a really cool video about our awardees for this year. And when the video has concluded, I'll come back up here and I'll ask Song to come forward and present our awardees with their medals. Okay, I think we're ready for the video.
Colorado College is proud to honor the recipients of the 2023 Alumni Association Awards. Each of these awards is named for a person who made significant contributions to the college during their time at CC. This year's awardees, recognized at Homecoming and Family Weekend, join a distinguished group of outstanding alumni. The Louis T. Benezet Award recognizes outstanding achievement in one's chosen field, excellence through unusual success or contribution, innovation or research that has advanced a profession or a cause, and/or extraordinary contributions and achievements that have impacted people's lives and exemplify the values of a liberal arts education. These attributes characterize the important contributions of the late Louis T. Benezet, President of Colorado College from 1955 to 1963. The 2023 recipient of the Louis T. Benezet Award is Gia Crecelius, class of 1991. The daughter of a CC alum, Gia was familiar with the college from an early age. She was a Barnes Scholar and a chemistry major at CC, spending many days and nights in the lab or the fishbowl in Olin Hall. She fondly remembers chemistry professors Harold Jones, Nate Bauer, Keith Kester, Ted Lindemann, and Eldon Hitchcock. She even welcomed the chaos of learning an entire semester of organic chemistry in just 3.5 weeks. Gia enjoyed studying at the Baca campus and taking zoology courses, especially ones that included field study. She participated in student government and was a member of the Delta Gamma sorority. Gia went on to earn her MD from Pennsylvania State University. She completed her residency in adult psychiatry and a fellowship in child psychiatry at UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute. Gia has devoted her career to developing appropriate and effective care for children in the dependency, delinquency, and foster care systems. First as the medical director for a Los Angeles residential treatment facility, and now as the medical director for Los Angeles County Juvenile Court Mental Health Services. In 2011, she was honored by the county for her work establishing protocols that were adopted by both Los Angeles County and the state of California. Gia also serves immigrant and low economic status families at a community health clinic, providing psychiatric care and guidance for navigating the Los Angeles health system. She is honored for her passion and dedication to the field of mental health, and for the impact she has made on the well-being of children and families across California. The Lloyd E. Warner Award recognizes outstanding loyalty, service, and generosity to the college as evidenced by continuing concern and support for students and the quality of teaching and learning, as well as the general well-being and future excellence of the institution. These attributes characterize the many years of service and effective contributions of Lloyd E. Warner, class of 1942, who served as a faculty member, dean, and ultimately president of Colorado College from 1964 to 1981. The 2023 recipient of the Lloyd E. Warner Award is David Banks, class of 1977. David was drawn to Colorado College because of what he calls the John Denver effect. The growing environmental movement paired with the ever-increasing popularity of the outdoor adventure lifestyle. He liked the idea of coming to a place that had skiing, a radio station, geology, football, rugby, fraternities, and even the block plan. David was a sociology major at CC. He fondly remembers Professors Mark Schneider and Margaret Duncombe in sociology, and Professors Dennis Showalter and Bill Hockman in history. He joined the Phi Delta Theta fraternity, wrote for The Nugget, was a DJ on KRCC, skied part of Pikes Peak, and captained the men's rugby team. For David, playing for and operating the rugby team provided excellent beginning leadership development, which remains a principal attribute of the club and an important reason for alumni involvement. Colorado College rugby remained one of David's passions long after his graduation. In 1993, he organized the first homecoming student versus alumni rugby match, now a beloved annual event. He helped launch the Rugby Club Endowment, which provides funding in perpetuity to support the men's and women's rugby clubs equally. David is known among fellow rugby alumni for his infectious enthusiasm, wit, selflessness, and commitment to maintaining rugby as a viable club sport at CC. As the sport's biggest cheerleader, he is credited with promoting a welcoming atmosphere, putting student desire to be a part of the team and to learn to play rugby safely ahead of other considerations. We honor David for his ardent and unflagging support of rugby and the physical, mental, fun, and social benefits it offers to CC students. The Gresham Riley Award recognizes faculty and staff who have made a significant difference to the Colorado College community through outstanding service, commitment, and accomplishment. The continuing concern for and support of students and alumni demonstrated by such individuals ensures the general well-being and future excellence of the college. These accomplishments exemplify the important contributions made by Gresham Riley, the 10th president of Colorado College, from 1981 to 1992. The 2023 recipient of the Gresham Riley Award is Emily Chan, Dean of the Faculty and Professor of Psychology. Emily came to CC in 2004 as a faculty member in psychology and has since taught courses in social psychology, research design, prejudice and stereotyping, cultural psychology, judgment and decision-making, and Asian American psychology. From her first on-campus interview, Emily was struck by CC students' enthusiasm and joy for learning. She noticed a culture of collaboration and care among fellow faculty and immediately knew she would be welcomed and supported as a block plan professor. Emily has instructed, advised, mentored, and researched alongside countless students. She has stayed connected to many of them as alumni through their happiest life milestones and biggest challenges. She enjoys seeing her students demonstrate courage and determination when tackling interdisciplinary topics, such as using psychology techniques to promote environmental stewardship or using statistics to advance issues of justice and equity. Emily's impact extends far beyond the classroom. From 2014 to 2017, she served as Associate Dean of Academic Programs and Strategic Initiatives. In that role, she oversaw strategy, operations, and implementation of international study, field study, pre-college and summer session, ADEI initiatives, faculty mentorship programs, and more. She transformed CC's Bridge Scholars, a thriving program for academic success and holistic thriving for BIPOC and first-generation students. She also previously served as director of the Race, Ethnicity, and Migration Studies program. Today, Emily serves as Dean of the Faculty, where she is focused on the inclusive success and thriving of faculty, librarians, and staff who contribute to CC's academic mission. Emily is honored for her tireless and ongoing commitment to the welfare of CC students and faculty through teaching, mentorship, and leadership. The Spirit of Adventure Award recognizes an alum who exemplifies the unique CC experience through a life of intellectual, social, or physical adventure. These attributes are characterized by the late Robert M. Orms, class of 1926, a Colorado College English professor from 1952 to 1973, who was the inaugural award recipient. The 2023 Spirit of Adventure awardee is William Bill Jankowski, class of 1967. Bill applied to Colorado College at the encouragement of former CC football coach Frank Flood. His initial visit to campus was the first time he had been west of the Mississippi River, and the first time he had seen mountains beyond the rolling hills of the Ozarks. At CC, he majored in zoology, played football and baseball, and was a member of the Kappa Sigma fraternity. He was influenced by Professor Robert Stabler in the zoology department, and credits Professors Richard Beidelman and James Enderson for igniting his passion for wildlife biology. On the athletic side, he remembers coaches Frank Flood, Jerry Carl, Leon Eastlack, Jerry Lear, and Bob Johnson, as well as team trainer Dr. Roosevelt Collins. After CC, Bill earned a graduate degree in wildlife biology at the University of Wyoming. Then, with the draft looming, he joined the U.S. Air Force, completing officer training school and pilot training. In 1972, he was deployed to Vietnam as a forward air controller on the O-2A Skymaster. During one mission, his aircraft was hit by a missile, forcing him to parachute into a hostile combat zone. His first rescue helicopter was shot down, but he survived and was ultimately rescued. Bill received the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star with Valor, and other honors for his bravery. He completed almost 35 years of military service, including as a B-52 pilot for Operation Enduring Freedom in 2003. He went on to become a wildlife observer for the U.S. Forest Service for a total of 50-plus years of flying. We honor Bill for his adventurous service to his country as a military and civilian aviator. Thank you for joining Colorado College in the celebration and recognition of these extraordinary members of the CC community.
All right. So now it's my great pleasure to invite our president, L. Song Richardson, to come forward. And Song is going to present each of our awardees with their medals. So when I call out your name, you can come up and get your medal and then have your seat at our table for our discussion that will follow this ceremony. So for the Benezet Award, Gia Crecilius. For the Warner Award, David Banks. And for the Riley Award, which I'll point out again, goes to a member of our faculty and staff, which are awesome, just like our alums are awesome, Emily Chan, who's a professor of psychology and dean of the faculty. And for the Spirit of Adventure Award, Bill Jankowski. Yay. All right. So now we're going to have an opportunity to hear from our awardees about how their experiences at CC have related to the rest of their lives, and there will also, I think, be an opportunity for you to ask them questions, perhaps. And it's my pleasure to call on the president-elect of the Alumni Association Council, Judge Ed Casillas, to moderate this panel. Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you.
One thing that I want to start with is sort of where Mark had made some comment. And the most amazing part of all of this is to evaluate all of the applicants. Not everyone is able to receive an award, but everyone is amazing in what we hear about them and the things they have done in their lives after leaving CC. So I'm very proud to have this group of four, but we have outstanding alums throughout the world that are doing amazing things. And when I got to call one of the recipients, he thought it was a prank. And I had to convince him that, no, you received this award. And, the humility of this gentleman, he just said, all I did was my job. And that is true, but you did it well. And you did it with honor and distinction, as all of you have. So for me, it's very special to recognize and acknowledge these folks that are here today, but also to give a shout out to the folks that didn't receive the award, and they're still in the pool because they're all amazing throughout our community. I get to sort of put each one of them on the spot and ask them some questions, and what I tried to do when I formulated these questions was really tie in who they are with the award that they were receiving, and to try and get some insight from them about their perspectives of their professions, their lives, and the award that they're receiving. And what I'll do is I'll go in reverse order of how they were called up on the stage. So I'll start with Bill Jankowski, and he'll be the first person I get to ask these questions. And I guess the first one that, for me as a student in '87 and moving forward in life, I never had to address the call to service for my country through the draft. Certainly, you register for it as a young male, but then I never got that call saying, we're asking you to come and make that sacrifice and endure that risk. And Bill did, okay? And, the first question that I have was, when he was at CC, was Vietnam even an issue on campus? And if so, how was it addressed? So.
Can you hear me? Can I say one thing first?
Sure you may.
All right. I would like to really honor my wife, Debbie. She has been with me 52 years for this adventure, and in 10 days we will have number 53. So she has been by my side for most of this time, putting up with me. Well, at CC in the 60s, their ROTC was mandatory for all incoming male students. So you had to take it your first 2 years. In '69, then that was dropped. So my year was the last year that you actually had to do the 2 years of ROTC at Colorado College. But during that time, the Vietnam War really was just first starting. And the CC campus, you know, we were just maybe sort of insulated a little bit, being right in the middle of the country, and there really wasn't that much that I remember dissent or anything like that. It was mostly that we wanted to experience the college environment, learn, and you know, we would deal with those things afterwards, after graduation. So Vietnam really did not have much of an impact on my time at CC, and I think most of the people here during that time, at least middle to sort of early 60s. So yeah, you know, there wasn't a concern really with that.
Okay. With your Spirit of Adventure Award, I'm envious of sort of the experience you have as a pilot. You know, if I was a superhero, the one power I want is the power of flight, more than anything. And your perspective, you know, in the planes that you flew is so different than what we as passengers see in the back of the plane. So my question to you is, what is the most memorable experience you're willing to share with us as a pilot?
Okay, that's sort of an interesting one, to where, you know, first off, I have to say that, you know, I've been blessed that the Lord gave me the physical ability to be able to fly. And for 50 plus years, I had to pass an annual flight physical to be able to fly. So I've had to keep in relatively good shape to be able to do that. And I have seen airplanes explode in the air, come down in flames. When I was flying forest fires, I've seen houses burnt. I've actually been there when people died on the ground. But probably the most memorable was what was alluded to in the presentation, the video. In 1972, when I was in Vietnam, that was when the North Vietnamese started what was called the Easter Offensive, and they had 5 divisions come across the DMZ. And I was flying out of Da Nang, which was the northernmost U.S. military installation at that time. And the city of Quang Tri was going to be evacuated. They were going to take the Americans out. So my roommate happened to be there, and so I wanted to fly. So I was up in the air for the operation. And then as I was looking around, I was what was known as a forward air controller. So I actually went out to try to find the enemy, to be able to put in airstrikes against the enemy. And so I had done that, and I was getting ready to call RTB, return to base, because I was running out of fuel. And all of a sudden, the whole front of the airplane just exploded into flames. And my initial reaction is, whoa, I got to get out of here. And as I went to the door, my foot went through the hole in the floor of the airplane that the missile had blown the floor away. But, you know, then training kicks in, and you start to realize, well, hey, this is sort of still flying. So the O2 airplane had a door with the handle, so you pull that, push the door off. And I had been working with some friendly troops on the ground, so I turned my airplane back toward them, and looking out the door because there's just flames out the front of the airplane. And it was, well, this is about where they were, so jump out of the airplane. And as I'm coming down, I go, oh, wait a minute, there's something else I have to do. So, oh yeah, parachute. Boom. Pull the ripcord. It would be sort of a hard landing without that on the ground. And so I landed, and I had chose correctly. I was near the friendlies. So I spent the day with them. It was a battalion, an Arvin Ranger battalion, and they were trying to get back to the city of Way. And I spent the whole night with them. And as we went, we ran into an ambush and ended up hiding along a riverbank in some bamboo thickets. And during the night, the Army advisor that was with us said, well, if we're here, you're going to be found in the morning. And so we started moving back to where we had started out from. And it's that time that, you just go, well, you don't know whether you're going to live or die. And there are no atheists in foxholes. You ask the Lord to help you out. And so we moved back. In the morning, people showed up. There were some other airplanes shot down trying to pick us up. And then finally, they got some helicopters to come in and pick us up. And as we were going, I was in the second helicopter, and the first helicopter was out in front, and looking out the window and just see another missile come up and hit that airplane, and it was a ball of flames going to the ground. And then we hit the deck, and it just sounded like the 4th of July, and we were going okay until we went over 4 tanks, and they just happened to have people on the top. The Soviet T-54 tanks had a 12.7 millimeter machine gun on the top, and there just happened to be some people there. And hear the machine guns go, and hear some thuds on the helicopter, and see this row of red lights go on, and say, all right, if it means the same thing in a helicopter as it does in an airplane, we're not long for the sky. And sure enough, probably about 15, 20 seconds later, we bellied in the helicopter into a rice paddy. And then they did find another helicopter to come get us. So I would have to say that that's probably my most memorable flight time.
Looking back, on a life of service and adventure, what nugget of wisdom can you offer to us?
Well, the time here at CC was just, a time of learning, of just being open to the truth. The professors that we had were just amazing in being able to let us express ourselves and, wanting to find out the truth. But it is amazing that 4 years on campus, walking by the Palmer Building, it wasn't until about 12 years after I graduated that I finally got to realize what I had missed for my years at CC. On the front of that building, it says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And in 1985, I found the truth of Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me." So I have tried to live that, and my words to CC for that would be, he said that, do unto others as you do unto me. And so that would be what I would pass on, is that in this life you're going to have a job, you want to make money, but it is what you do for other people that really stands out. And over the years, tried to live that, to serve that. And, you know, it is just to keep open, to honor, to be aware of what others are, to have virtue, to have integrity in what you do. And, you know, there's a little saying that you never see a moving van following a hearse. So, you know, with your money, with your time, with your talents, of just take that to serve others and just honor others and just be able to, when you end your life, of just say, hey, I tried to do the best that I could. I tried to help other people out. And for me, just tried to honor the Lord.
Thank you. We'll next move on to Professor Chan. And my first question is this. Although extremely qualified in academia, you are being recognized for involvement in the CC community as an advocate and a leader for your non-academic achievements. So my first question is, how did you become involved and committed to your role in equity, inclusion, and access?
I was teasing the award committee that given the number of pop quizzes that I've given in my life to students, that it should have been karma that you shouldn't have given me the question, you know, the day before so I could think about it. But, you know, thank you for being so generous so that I could think about it. And actually it prompted me to think, right, of course, proximally, I could think about the work that I studied in graduate school. Since when I started undergrad and graduate school, I studied, as a video talked about, stereotypes, prejudice, intergroup relations, these almost natural instincts that we have as humans when we encounter something, somebody, a group that's different. That is global. It is not unique to the United States. It's not unique to a campus. It's everywhere. So I thought maybe that's where I'll start. But when I thought more deeply, right, but where did that seed get planted? I could have chosen to study all kinds of things in psychology. And in fact, you know, a lot of friends still would call me sometimes and say, well, I'm troubled by this and I want to talk about my emotions and whatnot. And I would tell them that I'm not that kind of a helpful psychologist. You should go to, we have an afternoon talk. I think there are faculty who will be talking about mental health. I'm actually not very good at the therapy side of mental health. So I thought, then where did the seed get planted, right? How did I find the diversity and inclusion? And ultimately, I thought, really, diversity, equity, inclusion, access, anti-racism work is about seeing the deep humanity that we have in each other. That we have identities, of course we do. How could we not, right? The world is full of different identities, countries, nations, moments in history, and you talked about, you know, a very painful moment in US history and global history. And I thought about who really shaped me when I was a little seedling. And those of you who know me know that I'm a gardener. So I often think about the garden. So pardon me for using garden metaphors. You know, as a seed, I think it really was planted by my grandmother. And my grandma was a refugee to Hong Kong, you know, during the war. And when I was living with her as a kid, you know, you tell good, nice bedtime stories, nursery rhyme to your grandkids most of the time. Once in a while, she would tell me war stories. And so it's like once a week, you know, twice a week. Sometimes she would share nuggets of it. She's very protective about that space. She didn't want to share too much with me. But what I picked up from her in all those stories is how she and Grandpa was always out there. And I won't cry because, you know, I miss her. For the, excuse me, for the community. How they would bring medications, right, to the neighboring family who need it. How if some mother around has, you know, issues and might need supplemental nutrition, she would do that. How she lost her first few during the war because she was out there, almost like she was giving so much that it's hard to balance everything. And that, I think, was a moment that when I realized we must do what we can, whether it is in school, as a teacher, whether it's as a business leader. We are here to serve our community, our family, but also in the service of humanity. And I think that core stayed with me. And then when I look back, so thank you for the great essay question, Professor. But it made me think that, yep, that makes sense really in a lot of activities I did as a very naughty, actually, elementary school and high school student. The rules that I broke is, I broke the rule, right? I skipped classes. And I went to the first aid room to pack the first aid kit so we're ready for field day. It's like really naughty in my mind. I was like, whoa, they're gonna kick me out. But it is actually deviance in the service of hopefully, greater good. And then when I went to undergraduate school and college, right, that the finding the place where I can serve by helping understand where those intractable human conflicts come from. Because I think every one of us in this room, outside of this room, carry that I want to do something for other people, I want to serve. Yet it's so hard. And we see that in the news. I'm sure you opened your phone first thing in the morning, you're like, oh, we sort of know that the global conflicts might be where we are. We wish we couldn't. What could we have done? What might we have done differently? And yet at the same time, we all feel that, and it's even hard to have a conversation about it without feeling a sense of, ooh, am I putting too much out there? Are people ready? Right? These intractable intergroup conflicts make it difficult for us to bring out the humanity and see the humanity in each other. And I think psychology, in the work that I do in intergroup relations and stereotype and prejudice, help me make that legible in the little bit that I can help in conjunction with all of you who've done different work in your fields. I think that's how I found my role into doing this work, both as a professor and also as an administrator, as a teacher, as a friend, to really advance the DEI work. I hope I passed.
Wonderful. So how do you maintain balance between your academic role and your access, equity, and inclusion pursuits? How do you stay balanced?
I think it is actually easy because, and I would say thank you, Song, for giving us in the cabinet a lot of space to really think about how do we, in our roles in the college, right, in leadership, to think about access, diversity, anti-racism, equity, inclusion in broad ways, right? So we can actually have colleagues who think about how do we do it in athletics? How do we do it in our community outreach? How do we even do it in the classroom? One might think that, well, if I'm teaching or learning intro biology or intro neuroscience or chemistry, can these considerations come in? Yes, it actually can. And as Dean of the Faculty, I get to support my colleagues to find ways to bring in pedagogies, to think in ways to bring in examples, to advance these issues, right? So actually it's a very special blessing. I don't have to find it as two different parts of my life. And for example, I'll tell you a story, recent story. You might have heard that there is a contamination of the aquifers in the El Paso County, that there's some flame retardant chemicals that over decades has seeped into the water and is biologically harmful to the people who drink from wells in the broader community. And so how do we as faculty engage in that from a DEI, way? And it turns out that some of our professors in the environmental sciences and chemistry were connected with the community, and before the government activated, its responses to support the community, our students and faculty were out there with little sample bottles and collecting water from neighborhoods, and were able to do the initial water analysis and share that information for then later on the government agencies to follow up. And that's another example where communities who might not have access, right, through wealth and connections to all the fancy science and whatnot, we are able to, as faculty, be partner in the community to serve that way. So it's actually easier to keep those parts of my work connected. So thank you.
Thank you. The next recipient we'll speak with is David Banks. And the award that you received is it was amazing to read the letters of support that you had for it. The rugby community is a vibrant, vocal, and fun group. And so it was wonderful to read all of the different letters from different generations of CC alums and even current students. So my question is, when and how did you get introduced to rugby?
Want the long story or the short story? By the way, I want to thank the Alumni Committee for placing the rugby player between two eminent psychologists. I think that's perfect. We'll talk later. I grew up in Palo Alto, California. My dad went to Stanford. Funny you mention that. And played football and rugby. And at Stanford at that time, you could earn your varsity letter for rugby. And that's something I'm talking with at the athletic department here. We might be able to introduce that. So then being a Palo Alto kid, he would take me to everything at Stanford. And in fact, I was a Stanford bat boy. But that included going to rugby games. And there was another gentleman in our neighborhood who also played rugby, and he was the announcer at the Stanford games. So I always wanted to play rugby. And that's, again, as you saw, one of the reasons I wanted to go to Colorado College, because I saw they had a rugby team. And as a freshman, an upperclassman knew of my interest in rugby, and so he came by and gave me a rugby ball. And my roommate, Gary, and I went out in the lawn in front of Loomis Hall, and we tried to throw it and pass it and catch it and kick it, and it just didn't work very well. And I really got disheartened by the whole thing. And then a neighbor came by and put air in it, and boy, it really made a difference. And then I went out for rugby, and that's the beginning. And so, but I really do thank my dad for showing me that not all rugby players are nuts. Although we've done a lot to change that. So that's how that started, if you want to know.
What about the game causes you to be so supportive of it, and particularly at CC?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
What about the game causes you to be so supportive and passionate?
Yeah, in America, football is probably the funnest game to watch, either in person or on TV. But rugby is the funnest game to play. And it's really a player's game. And it occurs, I think, on all levels. After about 15 minutes, you're running along saying, God, this is neat. I get to kick, I get to run, I get to throw. And it's overworked, but the camaraderie of rugby, I think, is unique among other sports. And all sports have it, and it's all important. But it's really cool here at CC that we have a cutthroat team. I'll be blunt, the women's team and the men's team. But they are under one umbrella. It's one club, two teams. And so that interplay is also something that you don't normally get in any kind of activity, yeah, I think. And just the physical nature of rugby, it's a tough rock'em sock'em sport. And that creates a crucible of endurance and difficulty that's unique. And so that transcends so much. I know other sports have that factor too, but believe it or not, rugby players have to kind of run and think at the same time, and that's very important.
Success in most sports is often measured by wins. How would you measure success with CC's rugby history?
Well, we measured it last night, as a matter of fact. I don't know if this is breaking news. The CC men's team was playing Air Force Academy and came from behind valiantly and won in the last seconds, 27-26. And I'd be remiss by not pointing out that last year CC beat DU too, handily. So always take that. But the success here really is, I think, being involved with others in a difficult pursuit keeps you in school, especially with the block plan. It's easy to burn out about the second or third week. But if you have something like rugby or choir or chess club, you name it, that can keep you motivated and keep you going. And rugby trips are kind of fun too. You never think going to Wyoming would be all that exciting, but it can be neat.
Thank you.
Oh, can I make another addition?
Sure.
This is a judge over here, and it's one of the first times a judge didn't say, will the defendant please rise? I did dress up, though, so thank you.
Well, don't you have a story about the tie you're wearing?
Oh, yes. This award is very special to me because Lou Warner was Lloyd Warner, Lou was the president when I was in college, and I kind of knew him. He was a great guy, and he had this same tie. And so I thought I better wear my Colorado College Lou Warner tie on Lou Warner Day.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Has a golden bee on it, too. One more bit of thanks. I don't know how much time I have. I want to thank the committee very much for putting on this show and arranging to have a solar eclipse for us. That was you make some good phone calls there, Mark.
Yeah.
I wish I could take credit.
Well, I wish we could too. We'll move on to the Benezet Award recipient, and Dr. Chryselius. I had the pleasure of sitting next to your father at the dinner, and I asked him, was he proud? And of course, he crowed and said, yes, he was. But he then also mentioned that your name isn't Greek. And I asked, well, it looks Greek. And he said, well, it's really, see if I can get it right, a medieval Latin derivation of a German name. And I thought that was fascinating that he was able to share that with us. And so it was really a pleasure getting to visit with him. From your experience, it appears that you have involvement in both policy and clinical areas of your practice. Usually a doctor chooses one or the other. How did you get involved in both?
I wanted to take a moment before answering the question. Can you all hear me? No? Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. I wanted to take a moment because days like this don't come, very often. So I wanted to thank the Alumni Association. I'm so incredibly honored. And I wanted to thank my parents, who I have the good fortune of having with me today. So thank you for always supporting me and always having my back and always giving me a gentle kick in the pants when I needed to get going. And so I am so appreciative and love you so much. I'm also really fortunate to have with me today my dear friends who I've known since I was a teenager here at CC. And so Susan and Walter Rice are with us and made the trip specially out to come see this. And I thank you so much. They are godparents to our children. And so it's really special for me to have them with us today. And Susan's parents came as well, and I'm so grateful. And I cannot forget my incredible, wonderful husband, who also puts up with me and never says no when I want to adopt another dog. So, So I came to what I do in a bit of a circuitous route. And I really credit Colorado College because I had an amazing education here. I was a Barnes Scholar, and having that opportunity just opened up the world to me. And it made things like going to medical school possible for me. And the things that I learned here, like critical thinking and being able to hold two opposing ideas in my head at the same time, and being able to have a civil discussion with people who I kind of fundamentally disagreed with. Those are things that I carry with me to this day and that I use on a daily basis. So I am just enormously grateful. One of the things that I didn't learn all that well was I continue to be a not so great writer. And one of my memories was taking an English class with the wonderful Ruth Barton. I don't know if anybody had a class, yeah? Every time she would hand a paper back to me, she would say, you know, I know you're a science major, and I think you should stick with that. Which is very Professor Barton, right? And thankfully I did, because you know, going to medical school was one of the, you know, it's really one of the great privileges of my life. But as you know, as you finish medical school, you have to choose. You have to make a decision about which pathway you're going to follow. You know, unfortunately, you can't do it all. So, in my last year, I took rotations in psychiatry and in plastic surgery, and I remember so vividly being in an interview with a patient in psychiatry who had gone through so much, cancer and heart disease. But I so remember him saying, the thing that causes me the most pain is not the cancer, it is the depression. And this is what gets me on a daily basis. This is what I find is so hard to overcome. And it really sat with me. And I felt this is something that I can do. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I think it was probably because I did plastic surgery last, I decided to choose that path. And I actually started off in surgery. And within weeks of making that decision and starting my internship, I realized I had made a mistake and that this is not what my life path was meant to be. I tell this story only because I like to remind my patients, and I sometimes like to remind the students that I work with, you don't have to go down a path that is a bad path. You don't have to commit to something that you know is wrong for you. There's always a way back. And so, you know, I made that difficult decision to leave my program. And I was calling, you know, psychiatry residencies literally from a broom closet, because this was the day before cell phones, and I didn't want people to know that I was leaving. And so I managed to secure a spot at UCLA because somebody else had decided not to come. And that was how things moved forward for me. When I finally started finishing 5 years later, you know, 3 years of residency, 2 years of fellowship, again, I had to make a decision about where I was going to go, what kind of work I was going to do. But this time I knew. This time I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and that was to work in community mental health, to work with foster children, to work with immigrant communities, to work with, I would say, low socioeconomic patients. And I took a job in community mental health, which I absolutely loved. I loved my patients, I loved my team, I felt that this is really what I was meant to do. Then the county came calling, and they had a team in place at dependency court. Los Angeles has probably the largest dependency system in the country. We have about 30,000 foster children. It's devastating. It's devastating. But juvenile court mental health service is there to serve their needs, to make sure that they get appropriate care, to set policy, to set prescribing parameters for physicians out in the community. And one of my former mentors was the head of juvenile court mental health services. So when it was time for him to retire, he actually called me and said, all right, get your application ready. And so I did. And when I was hired, I was worried because I didn't want to leave my patients, and I didn't want to leave the work that I was doing with direct patient care, because my job at the county was mostly policy setting and admin, and it would take me away from that. So I went to my new boss, the most wonderful mentor and psychiatrist, and I said, how can we make this work? And she said, well, damn, we will. And that's what we did. And we worked it out so that I was able to continue seeing my patients and still and do my work with the county. So that is how I ended up mixing policy and clinical work.
Thank you. Well, to honor everyone's time commitments, we are going to wrap this up. I want to thank all of you for receiving our awards and sharing your stories with us. It's always inspiring and informative to hear from our wonderful talent base that we have. And continue to do all you do and carry our banner forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Ed. Well, before we close, last year at the award ceremony, we gave one of our recipients a little gift. We have another little thing today for one of our recipients. Ed Bowditch, I'm in an Ed sandwich. Ed Bowditch, our previous president, and now Judge Ed, so I'm the peanut butter and jelly of the Ed sandwich. So he and I ran into Debbie and Bill at Warner Center, and it happened that Bill was donning a Wyoming hat. I know. And not only that, today our women's soccer team is right now in a bus driving to Laramie to play their rival, interconference rival, University of Wyoming. I brought this up to Bill because I was like, excuse me, we are playing them tomorrow. You shouldn't be wearing that hat on campus. And Debbie, jumped in after 53 years and saved him and said, this is the only hat he had. So Ed and I went straight to Robeson and we purchased him his own Colorado College hat. And you will don this one and put the other one in your suitcase. So as many of you who don't know me will notice that I probably have mascara running down my face. I think next year we need to have Kleenexes at every row. Did it again. This place just continues to impress me and surprise me by the amazing people it produces, and not just the people on the stage today, but the people in the audience who are here supporting them, the people who contributed to nominating other candidates, and also the people who write in support of the people, not only that you see today, but in the past, and who with honor have received these awards. And it is just my honor I just can't do it. As a really amazing member of this community. So thank you very, very much. Please continue to support the Alumni Association. Our page on the website is going to be robust soon as we work to communicate not only what we do, but the outreach and how we represent the alumni, not only as a council, but also on the Board of Trustees. And see, they're coming. But also, we do give a scholarship every year to current students. We're very honored through one of our committees. We give about 3 to 4 scholarships due to the donations from the alumni. And we give it, and usually it's about $9,000 each. And that goes straight to taking out the financial burden for some of our students, just off the top from when they can graduate. So there's so many things that we can do as a community, giving us access and representing not only the alumni, but also the amazing faculty that's here to launch us into adulthood. So to Song and to all the recipients today, past and present, thank you very much for coming and enjoy your time at homecoming.